What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another H.G Legends video, and today I have a really cool one for you. I'm going to be going over some tips, some information and tricks that a lot of people don't know in this game. Whether you're early game, mid game, late game, or end game, it's going to be shocking to a lot of people at how many of these you don't in fact know. Huge shout out to H.G Centy, the numbers guy. A lot of this information did come from him from a long time ago. I kind of just pulled it back up because, you know what, let's throw together a video to spread this information with as many people as possible. So once again, huge shout out to H.G Centy. It feels like I'm doing this every other video, if not every video now, but once again, really smart guy, really likes to dig into the coding of this game, so I definitely have to give him the props and respect he does deserve. Now, as always, I'm looking for some type of feedback from this, so if you know at least one of the 5 things that I'm talking about, go ahead and leave a like in the video, just so I can kind of gauge where you guys stand between views and likes, because I'm fairly certain that I have an incredibly smart viewer base. In fact, I have so much confidence in that fact, and I'm going to say I do have the smartest viewer base in the entire game for Raid Shadow Legends as far as that goes. So I'm going to be shocked if there's anybody watching me, unless you just found my channel, that don't know at least 1 or 2 of all of these tips I'm about to explain to you guys here today. So with that being said, let's get right into the first one. Now this one is going to be one of the more common ones. Thankfully I had a spare key to show it, and that's going to be attack down in the clan boss. Now you actually don't need attack down for every single ability the clan boss has to offer. So if you go through them, you can see A2 here is going to be attack based, A2 meaning for the clan boss. The A3 is also going to be attack based, but one thing people don't know is that the stun ability, the A1, is an enemy max health hit. So in a sense, you do not need an attack down champion with attack down on the A1. You can simply use 2 champions with attack down on a 3-turn cooldown and cycle it so it's always up for the first and for the second AoE for the clan boss. And it's totally okay if it does in fact fall off by the time the stun goes around, because like I just mentioned, we can see the text in the bottom, damage inflicted is proportional to enemy max HP, meaning it's based on HP 100%, and attack down will not affect at all as far as damage mitigation goes. That's the first one for you guys. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already knew that, but just in case you didn't, that should help a lot of people if you were really struggling with attack down champions on your account for progression. Now the second thing I want to talk about is going to be Masteries. Now this might be a tricky one even for endgame players. So the first mastery I want to talk about is Harvest Despair. Now fun fact about Harvest Despair, you do not need any accuracy to place this debuff here. You might be thinking to yourself, but Murder, don't you need accuracy to place Stun, Sleep, Fear, True Fear, and Freeze? You don't, because we all know that gear set bonuses you can get like Toxic, Stun set, Freeze set don't require accuracy at all. So you can actually take Harvest Despair with a stun set, have no accuracy, and the leech will be applied and it cannot be resisted. So that's kind of the key there with this not needing accuracy. The main takeaway is this cannot be resisted at all. Another master I do want to talk about is going to be Shield Breaker. This is something that I'm 50-50 on as far as all players and really endgame players and if they know this or not. So the way Shield Breaker works is it does increase damage to the targets under a shield. However, what most people don't know and kind of assumed is that 25% of damage actually ends the second the shield is depleted. So if you have someone like a Trunda, you use a defense down champion, you don't strip the shield, but you do in fact place the defense down, you're going to do 25% more damage until that shield expires. Then that 25% damage bonus goes away for the remaining hit on the champion. So that was definitely another cool master I wanted to share with you guys to see if you guys even knew that, because I know when I first heard this, I didn't. Moving on to the next thing that I want to talk about is going to be player power. I have people asking me all the time where player power comes from. It's a huge misconception that people have that a high player power means you are godly at the game. There's some advantage you have over other people, so I kind of want to set that straight right now and give you the values of player power. So 1% crit rate is the equivalent to 109 player power, 1 resistance is the equivalent to 89 player power, 1 accuracy 22, 1 crit damage 15, 1 speed 14, 1 defense 12.8, 1 attack 7, and 1 HP is equivalent to 0.47 player power. So sometimes when you're facing these teams in arena that have insane player power and you fight them and they fall over or get shredded like a wet piece of paper, you're thinking to yourself, how can their power be so good? They must be great players, and I guess my team is just so much better. A lot of the time, players are over crit capping their champions, and there is currently a bug, I'm pretty sure it's not fixed to this day, where if you stack like 120% or 130% crit rate, just because of the gear you have on your account when you're gearing champions, it will skew your player power heavily. It will almost make your opponent believe that resistance is the key factor there, so they're probably going to approach it like a resistance team and then be pleasantly surprised that all of their debuffs lands when they overcompensated for it. But this is kind of the breakdown. I don't think a lot of people know about the specifics of player power and how it is distributed amongst the game. I'm personally not a huge fan of player power. I did a video a long time ago because Plarium did mention to me that they do want to rework player power, and you guys had some really great feedback in that video and really great comments that they did review. So hopefully they can take some of what you guys said in that video and do apply in the game, because right now player power literally means nothing, and it's a terrible metric on gaining any information out of looking at opponents. It's a terrible way to rank clans currently, so I think there's a lot of work to be done on the player power system overall. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is going to be depleting someone's turn meter. Now this should be pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward, however it isn't. So if we look at someone like Tomb Lord here, the A3 is pretty self-explanatory in theory. Decreases the turn meter of all enemies with less than 50% health by 100%. Now this is where a lot of people don't understand how this is designed and written, and I don't really think Plarium did this properly, but that's just my opinion here. 100% turn meter is not the equivalent to a full turn meter. This means, as far as coding goes, they have a max stamina, meaning 100 stamina, and 1,428 ticks. Ticks being the increments in which the turn meter will move to full on a champion. So if you've ever done Spider, used a champion like Tomb Lord, used a champion like Stitch Beast, Cold Heart, Tuhawk, Carl, Lua, Warlord, Jintoro, Skimfus, Geomancer, Hermdig, just some examples there. They do the same thing where they've reduced the turn meter by 100%. But like I was saying, if you use this on Spider, you're going to notice right away that it doesn't bring the turn meter all the way down to 0, because the Spider is actually overfilling its turn meter because there are so many enemies and allies on the field of view in front of you. Now that skews things a ton. It allows something called overfill to happen, where you have 120%, 130% turn meter. That is how information like this is what led to the original 2-to-1 ratio clan boss teams that Deadwood has covered quite extensively on YouTube. So I thought that was a really cool thing. Now, why is this a big deal? Because there are champions that will bring the turn meter to absolute 0. Let's go over the best example of that, and that's going to be Lissandra. Fully depletes the target's turn meter, so this is an absolute 0 drop in the turn meter. So it's kind of funny how when they say 100%, they don't really mean 100%, but when they say fully depletes, it's an absolute 0 depletion. Now what other champions besides Lissandra are there that have this same effect? Just naming a few, we have Soulbound Bowyer, Rohak the Bloodied, Frostskin, Brazen Scarhide, Excruciator, as well as Maneater. So I think there are some players who kind of knew there was something fishy with that, but they might not have known the details or some of these specific champion examples that I did just give there. So hopefully we can see a lot of really cool arena teams or progression teams after I did just list those champions out. Now that you know some champions are significantly stronger with the amount of turn meter drop they do have in their kit. Now the last piece of information that I was going to share with you guys had to do with shard pulling. I want to tell you the chance of pulling specific champions in Tomb Times events, and another chart showing the chances of pulling specific legendaries if you have 200 shards. However, I elected not to add that information because I don't want to incite gambling or spending in this game at all, and I don't want to bait people because, as we all know, just because you have a chance of pulling a legendary, it's better if you don't know it, because if you do know it, you're going to expect something new, and as we all know, we're going to get tons of duplicates. We're going to get those terrible legendaries that I've been talking about in my most recent videos, so I would rather just skip that for now, and maybe once the game turns to a more positive direction, we have a dupe system. Hopefully the dupe system is fantastic. That's when I'll probably come out with the information on your chances of pulling legendaries on 10 times events, the actual percentage you need, the ideal amount of shards to have, and the same thing applying to every single 2 times event. So with that being said, that's going to cover all of the tips and tricks that I have based on what I said, and you guys being the viewer base, I'm pretty sure a lot of you knew at least one or two things, and I'm expecting to see tons of likes on this, proving that point to me. But if you did learn something, definitely throw a comment, let me know what you think. And are there any other tips and tricks that you guys have that you think aren't as well known that I should have mentioned here? Definitely drop a comment. Let me know in the comment section below. Alright guys, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to smash that like button, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.